Talk about keys for success for Florida quarterback DJ Lagway in order for Florida to pull off the upset. Look at the type of throws he's going to have to make and look at the type of plays he's going to have to make repeatedly in order for Florida to pull off the upset against Georgia. But before we look at the keys of DJ Lagway and we'll look at some film showcasing the type of throws he's going to have to make, let's talk about Georgia's defense first. Now, I'll have them playing in the background as I talk. We got, 4 or 5 clips we'll watch of Georgia's defense as we talk about, and then we'll talk about and look at DJ Lagway. It is broadcast footage. I do apologize. So not the best quality, but does a good enough job getting the point across. So Georgia's defense, obviously coming off a bye, but before that, coming off their best defensive game they've played all year. And something they've tried to do in every game so far is confuse the quarterback pre-snap and do something different post-snap. You're going to see here, as you're looking at Georgia's defense, they're going to show something pre-snap and do something totally different post-snap, whether it's bring 4, whether it's bring 5, depending on the type of coverage. They're trying to confuse the quarterback, and we see them get pressure bringing 4. We saw them get pressure blitzing as well to Texas. But before the Texas game, there are some up and down games. They played really good against Kentucky. They played really good against Auburn, and then they struggled against Mississippi State, and of course struggled against Alabama. They only had 10 sacks the entire season up until this Texas game. Against Texas, they ended up having 7 sacks, got 30 pressures on Quinn Ewers, and the amount of time they blitzed was the least amount of time in SEC play. They were averaging like 50-something% of passing downs or dropbacks they were blitzing in SEC play. Against Texas, they only blitzed 38%, so they were able to get a lot of pressure. You can see here, just bringing 4 guys, and it leads to these type of mistakes. Before the Texas game, they only had 2 interceptions in the SEC so far. Against Texas, I think they had, 2 picks off Quinn. They had a strip sack fumble on Quinn, a strip sack fumble on Arch as well, who I think is in the game right here. We'll see another sack here, right? So I think the Georgia defense is more likely going to be able to repeat what they did against Texas than when they struggled against Bama, when they struggled against Mississippi State. Now, the thing that stands out is, could a mobile quarterback pose some questions to Georgia? Because Jalen Miller did for Alabama. He certainly did, and that was the game they struggled the most. Brock Vandagriff from Kentucky has decent mobility. Peyton Thorne has decent mobility. Quinn basically has no mobility compared to those other guys, and he really struggled, right? So I think that's maybe where DJ Lagway could have some success. Okay, so we've talked about Georgia's defense a little bit. You see them here. We see how they're fast, obviously athletic, one of the best defenses Florida's going to face, and they're coming off their best game. It looks like they really found some things that are working for them. So let's talk about Florida quarterback DJ Lagway. The keys, let's pause it real quick. The keys for success for DJ Lagway to pull off the upset. I think right now you're 16-point underdog, so a lot of things have to go your way, and it's not just on the quarterback. Like, obviously, defense, running game, special teams, a lot of things have to happen to pull off this upset, but we're just a quarterback hub, so we'll look at it from the quarterback perspective. So DJ Lagway, big-time playmaker. His strength is the vertical throws, which we're going to talk about in a second, but I think he's going to have to do the little things to win against Georgia, as Georgia's going to try to confuse you pre-snap, whether they blitz a lot like they've done against Mississippi State and Bama and Kentucky, or if they don't blitz as much like they did against Texas. They're going to try to confuse DJ Lagway. So let's talk about the keys real quick, then we'll look at the film. Key number 1, you're going to have to hit on vertical throws. It doesn't have to be your identity, but the good thing is it is his strength so far. Miller is 3 of 3 on balls throwing 20 yards or more against Georgia. And so far this season, here's a pretty interesting stat. DJ Lagway is 12 of 19 on these type of throws. And we'll get here. We'll dive more into that in a second. Key number 2, underneath type throws you're going to have to hit to set up these deep throws. Let me pause it. Let me go one more second. We'll talk about Lagway. These underneath type throws you're going to have to hit. Jalen Miller, I think 18 of his 25 or 27 completions, the ball was thrown 9 yards or less. So short to intermediate throws to set up the deep ball. Key number 3, do good against when Georgia drops 7 or 8. He's been much better against the blitz so far. The 5 interceptions he's thrown has been when the teams are dropping 7 or 8. So you want to do good whenever Georgia drops 7 or 8. And then key number 4, use your legs, whether it's as a design quarterback run, whether it's as a scramble. I think you're going to have to do a little bit of both. So vertical throws. I think you're going to have to hit on several of these to win. This is the first clip we'll watch of here, and this is throwing deep without the use of play action. There's several ways Lagway can throw deep, play action, on the run, without play action. I think he's going to have to do all of those different type of deep ball throws. And so this is a good example of him not using play action, dropping straight back to rip it downfield. And we talked about he has 12, and here's some play action and him throwing the deep ball here. And we talked about Lagway has 12 completions with the ball thrown 20 yards or more downfield. That's would put him 7th in the SEC, and he's only, started 2 games, played 2.5, 3 games, and played off and on. Those numbers, he has more balls completed where the ball's thrown 20 yards or more downfield than Nico. He has more than Connor Wegman and Marcel Reed combined. He has more than Brady Cook. He has almost as much as Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning combined. I think they have 14. So that just goes to show you how talented he is. He's 12 of 19 on those type of throws. That puts him the top in the SEC according to PFF as far as ratings go, right? But that's key number 1. You have to hit on some vertical throws. But to set up those vertical throws, these kind of shorter to intermediate throws, anywhere, 5 to 12, 13 yards, you're going to have to complete on. And this is an example of him rolling out and completing on a little play action. But like a quick out, a quick slant, something to set up the deep ball, I think you're going to have to do, because Georgia knows that Lagway's strength is his arm and his big playability. So they're going to be defending against that. Key number 3, throwing and having success when they only bring 3 or 4. And so here's Kentucky bringing 3 here. And we talked about just a second ago how Lagway's 5 picks have all come when the defense has only brought 3 or 4. So here's a good example here. They bring 3, but you're going to see he buys some time, even though there's good blocking up front, and he delivers a good ball downfield. So he's going to have to be able to make these type of throws and these type of plays repeatedly to have success against Georgia. Now Georgia could dial up the blitz and blitz more because he's a young quarterback and they want to try to confuse him. Or I think what's more likely is they're just going to try to confuse him from pre-snap to post-snap. I think they're probably going to blitz the same amount of time they blitz, Texas, or maybe a bit more. But as long as they confuse him, I don't think they care if it is with the blitz coming or if it's with them dropping 7 or 8. So when Georgia does drop 7 or 8 when they try to confuse Lagway, he's going to have to make completions and avoid turning the ball over. And the last key, something that Miller was able to do and I think helped open up some big plays when Bama played Georgia, is utilize his legs. That was the main game that Georgia's defense struggled on when Miller was able to get the run game going from the quarterback position. So here's a clip of Lagway. He scrambles here. This is not a designed quarterback run. He looks downfield. Nothing's open. Kentucky's only bringing 4. They don't get pressure, but he just takes off because nothing's there. So I think Lagway's going to have to make a few guys miss. He's going to have to go off script and have some success on the ground running the ball, and then also probably improvising and throwing on the run as well, even when it's not designed. So going off script, I think, is a big key in the quarterback design run, especially early on in the game. Here's a quarterback. Is this a draw? It's a quarterback design run right here. So I think implementing this, just a quick, almost like a little quarterback power slash run here, but just having the quarterback run game from a design standpoint implemented early in the game to hopefully get Georgia defenders out of position, I think will be key. So those are the 4 main keys. Like we talked about, a lot has to happen for Florida upset this game. I totally get that, but I think for Lagway, it comes down to hitting on a few vertical deep throws, completing the short to intermediate throws to set up these deep throws, doing good whenever Georgia blitzes or when they drop 7 or 8, and then utilizing your legs to add another element against Georgia's defense. Like, if something bad happens, I don't think it's in the world. Like, he doesn't have to play a perfect game as long as he responds and doesn't have a snowball effect happen if a bad play happens. So, Florida fans, I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think the keys are for Lagway in order for Florida to pull off this upset? Like we talked about, there's a lot more keys in the quarterback position, but let me know your thoughts on DJ Lagway. If you're a Georgia fan and you're watching this, let me know your thoughts as well. And as always, we're just a big quarterback hub. We talk a lot about SEC quarterback. So if that's your type of niche or content, please consider subscribing to the channel. It does help us grow. Like the video, share, all that YouTube stuff. It really helps us out. Thanks for following us along. We'll see you next time. Peace.